Hello and welcome to Hocus Focus, mystical topics for spiritual explorers. With me, Megan Rounds, and our guest today, Stephanie C. Weinman, who's going to talk with me about the Wheel of the Year. Today's guest has been a frequent guest on my mystical mashup in the Lightworkers Lab and is both a moderator and a teacher. She also hosts a weekly program in the lab, The Witching Hour, every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. She's a Scorpio sun with an Aquarius moon. Those are her astrological signs, and her main gifts include intuitive empath, clairsentience, and claircognizance. If you're not aware of what those are, well, we'll probably have a hocus pocus about it sometime, so stay tuned. She owns a spiritual business called Spirit and Sage Healing, or SASH for short, where she gets to connect with people, teach classes, lead retreats, and facilitate detoxes. Those are food-based detoxes. She lives in Rochester, New York with her partner, husband Malcolm. Together, they raised two incredible boys, 22-year-old Dakota and 21-year-old Casey, who are both now out on their own. Interesting fact about her, in an earlier life, she was a professional ballet dancer. With the Facebook handle Stephanie Kathleen Carpenter, so you may see that, please give a warm welcome to the fabulous Stephanie C. Weinman. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi. Hello. How are you?
Oh, really good. Especially
you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Fantastic. Let me get myself situated here. Hi, everyone. Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
It is such a pleasure to have you here. And as you know, I'm super excited about this topic. I reached out to you specifically about this topic because it's like, do you know anything about this?
I brought my wands too.
Awesome.
Yes.
I was going to say, I'm going to reach out. I have this other one. I got it in Tennessee, and I didn't know it at the time. I just thought it was really cool, so I got it. But it's a healing wand. I mean, I don't know that anything has ever said it, but I've used it for healing, and it works. I mean, not that I'm surprised by that, but it's like really cool, isn't it? It's like,
that is absolutely beautiful. I love it.
My mom sells jewelry at an artisan shop there, and that's where I found it. It was like, oh my gosh, they have wands. Whoever would have thought that? In like the smallest little town you can think of. And it's like, okay.
Becoming more mainstream. We're taking over.
That's right. Let's do a little glitter shake for that one. Well, okay. So we talked previously about what this is going to be about. And so Stephanie has some specific things she wants to share, but I thought first we would start with just a general overview of what the Wheel of the Year is.
Yes. Yeah. So where it comes to the Wheel of the Year, it's really a very pagan way of living. It is something that goes back to our Celtic ancestors 2,000 years ago. And it really is based off of how they would tell time and tell what time of the year it is and what they were supposed to be accomplishing and the energy that it brought and just basically how they would live their daily lives. So it's progressed over the thousands of years to really being a symbol of a pagan way of living. But it's not that you have to be pagan. It's really just connecting with Mother Nature, with Gaia energy, with the earth, and really being aware of how you are affected by this seasonal energy. Because the seasons change, so do we. Everything is always evolving. So the Wheel of the Year really breaks it down for you. You know, we're very much tuned into the 4 seasons, right? We have winter, spring, summer, fall. Well, there's actually 4 more in there too. So we have what we call sabbats, which is 8 holidays, I would say, which are 6 weeks apart all through the year. And that's all of those, every 6 weeks is a change of season. So it's not just the basic 4 that we're aware of. There's actually 8, and those are called sabbats.
Is that spelled really differently too?
Yeah.
We were talking about, Samhain,
Samhain,
which
right.
looks like
Sam Hain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sabbats is really spelled the way it sounds.
Sabbats is spelled Sabbats.
Okay, exactly
Sabbats.
like I thought.
Yeah,
Yay.
right? And then you also have SBATS, ESBATS, which is a breakdown, and basically a celebration, or it can be ritualistic too, of every full moon in the month, for every month as well. So that's part of the year, or the wheel of the year as well, but we're not going to get into that. Today we're going to just talk about the 8 Sabbats.
That'll be your program in January or early year, right?
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. Because then once you get the moon energy involved to the seasonal energy, I mean, there's so much. There's just so much to take in and to learn and to just find out about. So
it's super interesting. Go ahead. I didn't want to.
Oh, sorry. No, it's okay. I also wanted to say, that I had told you that that I just kind of wanted to go through each Sabbat today and give the general overview of the energy and the seasonal energy behind each Sabbat. But there's so much more that I could talk about today. We don't have that kind of time. Where it comes to gods and goddesses, where it comes to correspondences and colors and herbs and flowers and foods. There is so much that really is intricated into this wheel of the year. So what we're going to talk about today is really just the basic stuff.
Sure. So a couple of questions. One is this? It seems like this is a lifestyle, like you're living according to this wheel in a sense. And
Yes.
Have you adopted that lifestyle yourself?
Yeah. So basically, it's funny because it just started happening. My body, spiritually and physically, just started lining up to the seasonal energy more and more, to the point where I had to be aware of what was going on. And it really is just about an awareness of what's going on around you. Like expanding your energy field and your awareness to include more than just you and your own little bubble. And it's really just connecting with the earth, connecting with nature. That's really what, when people, will call me a witch, or, and I don't like to label myself anything, but that's essentially what Wiccans or pagans or witches do, is they just work with Mother Nature energy and Gaia energy. So it is a way of life, and it's really just being aware of the seasonal changes and the energy that comes along with each change, because it's going to affect us. Right. And it's just a matter if you're going to be aware of it. And once you are aware of it, and then you can use it to your benefit in all sorts of areas of your life.
Which was one of my other questions about how do you apply this in reality? And I don't even like that word anymore. In your life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for instance, we're coming up on a Sabbath tomorrow. Halloween, as we call it, in our modern times and our, mainstream lives, is the most potent Sabbath called Samhain. And so, for instance, I know many of us who are watching this now or will be watching this whole month, the energy has been leading up to tomorrow. The veil is thinning. We are more in tune with everything and everybody around us. We're more in tune to the energy around us. Your intuition is going to be more on point. Things like this is really how it does affect us on a daily basis, and how it can really be incorporated into your daily life. And when you honor that and you work with that, it's really amazing as to what you can accomplish. Like right now, I know so many people are connecting to spirit and to even, past loved ones from the other side, because that's what this seasonal energy holds. And it's all coming to a head tomorrow. So happy Samhain!
Yeah, woohoo! Yeah, I'm definitely feeling it. And I would imagine the same thing goes with the moon cycles, then, as you had mentioned. I notice sensitivities towards the full moon, and they show up differently through different seasons or months, from depending on context.
Sure,
but
sure.
it does show up differently, and it's always been curious for me because I'm loosely detecting some patterns. They're not to the point where I really recognize the patterns, which makes me think that that knowing more about this would help with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to the moon cycles, then you have your full moon and then you have your new moon too.
Yeah.
So that's twice a month where, and of course every phase affects you differently, and we won't get too much into that, but
Sure.
each full moon for each month holds a specific different energy. And that comes along with the new moon too. Then let's throw in the seasonal energy of what season we're in. And there's always so much to really dissect, and there's so many layers that we can really dive deep and do a lot of self-work, really, where it comes to all of this.
So I have one more question, and we can park this if it makes sense to do so, but I want to get it out there because I'm concerned I'll forget otherwise. But it's one that I've had for a while now. When people talk about seasonal things, what happens if you live in a place that doesn't have traditional 4 seasons like we do? You're in New York, I'm in, Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
Or like if you're in Australia or something where it's summer.
Right. So I was going to mention that too today. Yeah, exactly. So let's say the difference between Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere. People in Australia, per se, who I know many of us here have friends down under there, instead of going into being in fall right now, they're in spring, they're preparing for summer. So it's the same for them, it's just the opposite.
Okay.
So they are just on the opposite side of the wheel than we are in the Northern Hemisphere,
all right,
essentially. So it's that same energy. And then for people like us who live, in the north, the cold north, where winter is coming sooner than you would expect, there's still that seasonal energy that's carried on for centuries. So there's just that resonance there, and as long as we're still aware of that, you're still going to pick up on those slight changes. Because you'll see too, as I talk a little bit about each Sabbath, how it's such subtle differences from one to the next. There'll be a big difference from one to 3 or 4 Sabbaths down, but from one to the next, the differences are so subtle that it doesn't matter so much as to where it is you live.
Sure.
Like, let's say in the U.S., where it's from Florida to, let's say, Minnesota. It's all very much of just how you connect with that energy of where you are and where you live.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does. I've lived in a number of different places in the country, and I can say, like, I'm thinking of Arizona, and it's still winter. It's just a different kind of winter. And in California, yes, too. And Florida, it's like there still is a winter. It's just, I think sometimes the other seasons like autumn or spring are a little bit harder to detect there than maybe here. Although sometimes here we just skip from summer to winter and vice versa.
Totally.
So,
Yeah, exactly. From winter to summer.
Yep.
It's snowing and then it's 90.
Exactly. Sometimes all in the same month, and it goes back and forth. Awesome.
Yeah. Which kind of wreaks havoc too. You know what I mean? It does wreak havoc on us because we're naturally human beings, spiritual beings that are connected to, those seasonal changes. So when stuff goes awry, a lot of times we'll physically get sick too. So there are the things that we get affected by that too. So
wow. Well, okay, let's dig into the Sabbaths because it's like, okay, I had these questions. Thank you for being patient with me while I asked them, but now I really want to get in there.
Yes, no, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to start. We're going to go through these 8 Sabbaths. I'm going to get through this information as quickly as possible. I don't want to take up too much time. But basically, so a Sabbath is really considered a day of power. So that's something to keep in mind too. It's where there's sort of a culmination of energy from that whole seasonal change, how the energy is changing. It all culminates to this day of power, which is the Sabbath. So we're going to start with Yule. Yule is in the calendar, that's what it starts with, which is the winter solstice. And that generally comes anytime between December 20th to December 23rd. So we're very much in tune with this to be Christmas. That's really essentially, and we can get into that too, but that's really where Christmas started from once, Christianity kind of took over in Europe. So that's really where that came from. But this is really, Yule is the beginning of, and I'm looking over here at my notes. I have some notes to keep myself on track. So if I'm looking over here, that's why.
Great. No, that's fine. I'm going to ask you, are you by chance willing to share those notes that I could post here?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay,
for sure.
that'd be awesome. Good.
Definitely. I could do a PDF and send it to you, definitely.
Thank you.
Sure. So Yule is really, it's the beginning of the return of light. As you know, it is the longest night of the year. You know, it's where there's the most darkness. So it's starting now, after Yule, is with the return of the light. And it is known as the Sun King is being reborn. And the goddess gives birth to the god. That is what this Yule celebration really is about, and what the winter solstice is about. So it's really fascinating when you put it in those terms, where it comes to the gods and goddesses that are really could be involved there. And this time of year, the energy is really about us turning inward and really being more self-reflective and tuning into our deepest selves. So you're really hunkering down and focusing on your spiritual study and setting intentions for the year to come. Because when Yule's coming, 2 weeks, if that later, is the turn of our year now. You know, it's New Year's. So it's really about setting those intentions. And also, if you're familiar with the maiden, the mother, the crone, this is when the crone is transformed back to the mother, where she will hibernate until spring, where she will come rejuvenated as the maiden. So, yeah. So, and this is just a short little overview about what this specific Sabbath means. Sure. But you all know, you hear of Yule, you know of the Yule log, and the mistletoe and the evergreens and the Christmas tree, and that all started from this celebration. So there's so much history there, and there's just so much to learn, and it's really such a beautiful energy. I love Yule and the winter solstice. I think it's such a great time of year. So it's just, it's full of joy, really, even knowing what's coming.
Yeah.
It's really, it really is, at least for me, a really sense of joy and a really great celebration.
It sounds like it.
Yes, absolutely. So from Yule, we then, 6 weeks later, we are moving on into Imbolc. Now that is spelled Imbolc, Imbolc. And that is usually February 1st or February 2nd. So this is one of those seasonal changes that people aren't going to be aware of, right? You're really not going to be focused in on this, that there's a change of seasonal energy right now. You don't even think of this as being a seasonal change. So this is something that's probably going to be new to some people right now. This is also called Brigitte's Day. Brigitte is one of the goddesses. So this is her day where she is celebrated as well. So although the spring equinox is the official beginning of spring, Imbolc was traditionally known as the end of winter in the ancient pagan world. And when I say ancient pagan world, I'm really talking about the Celts, back 2,000 years ago. So this was really celebrated as the end of winter, February 1st and 2nd.
I'd have to check my calendar, but isn't Groundhog Day around then?
Yes, we're gonna talk about that too. Absolutely, it ties right into this. It's amazing, really. Yeah, it ties into this. So right now is when we'll start to see subtle changes of winter's end, and that's where I was talking about those subtle changes from one season to the next. One that's right after the other. It's all very subtle, but you can start to pick up on that. For us, it might be harder considering where we live, but you'll start to see some things changing, right? Hopefully.
I have to say, February for me has always been my least favorite month because I've always said it's short for a reason to get through it faster. But and apologies to anyone who has a birthday or some fun celebration during that time. There are none in my family, at least immediate family, and it's like I'm really ready for winter to end. However, you're saying this makes me think, well, that is something that I could make a part of my end of winter, not that I have
Yeah.
an end of winter celebration, but it could become one,
But it
or
could become one
yeah.
and give you a little bit more, skip to your step.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it's funny, Malcolm's birthday is February 13th.
Okay.
And he, every year, he's like, of course, it's the coldest day of the year is my birthday, And I get it. Like, it's so frustrating for him. He's like, wow. So, yeah, it can be a difficult time of year for some of us.
Yeah.
So, where was I? So, yes, you'll start to see the subtle changes of the winter's end, which is always really lovely. And it is a time of hope. It's a time of possibility. As the light starts to grow stronger, each day, you're going to start noticing that every day, which is another one of those subtle changes. But if you're tuned into it and you're aware of it, you're going to be like, okay, I can start to really see this and feel this. Also, the sun god's power is growing at this time as he is a waxing presence in the sky. Now, I love that because you always think of waning and waxing where it comes to the moon, right? Mm-hmm. But at this time of year, with this seasonal energy of Imbolc, the sun god is waxing. He's growing. He's getting bigger and longer and having more power. So that's something else to really think about there. And yes, again, this is Groundhog Day is around this time, and there are so many instances of how thousands of years ago, where Groundhog Day came to. There's really so much folklore behind it that's where Groundhog Day came from, and it really has to do with the shadow of the sun growing, and if you see a shadow or not. And there's so many really cool stories I could tell you, but that'll have to be for another time.
Maybe we'll do one on Groundhog Day just for that.
Oh, totally! That would be so fun.
That would be
a lot of fun. Definitely.
I'm making a note. Okay.
Yes, definitely. So, okay, from Imbolc, which is February 1st or 2nd, we're moving on to Ostara, which is Ostara, and that is generally March 19th, anywhere from March 19th to the 21st. That's also really our Easter. That's where Easter comes into play. Yeah. So again, you're gonna keep saying this. It's really
no
amazing.
idea.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. So we have Ostara, which is the spring equinox, Easter, or as a celebration, a pagan celebration of Ostara. So this is our first solar Sabbath of the year that marks one of the 2 days that there is an equal balance of day and light. The other one being Mabon, which we'll talk about, and that's in September. So this is on the very opposite end of the wheel as Mabon, and both of those Sabbaths have the same exact amount of day and night, the same hours of light and the same hours of dark.
Sure.
So there's that amazing natural balance, that energy of balance on this day of Ostara, right? Yeah, it's a really amazing thing to tap into. So this time of year is really all about balance. It's about renewal. It's about beginnings, taking action, and about hope and new possibilities. It's springtime, hopefully, for us.
Yeah.
But generally by this time, the winter is melting away, and we can really start to connect with Mother Earth again after months of us hibernating. And we can start also for people like me or other people who are very much like to get their hands in the dirt and have our gardens. This is a great time to really start plotting out our future gardens and really getting into what it is we want to plant, what we're going to grow, how we're going to do this. This is a great time for that too.
It almost sounds also like you could do that for other activities, like if you're a business owner, like maybe that's a time to start setting intentions and envisioning the future, planning.
Absolutely, and that's like what you were saying, how you can use this seasonal energy in your everyday life and how you can incorporate it individually, like specifically for you and then for your family or for your community. There's really just there's never ending possibilities of what you can do with this kind of information once you're aware of it.
Wow. I'm just getting super excited about this. This is resonating quite a bit with me in terms of this, how things are celebrated and the focus of each Sabbath. And yeah, so anyway,
it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. And I knew you would connect with it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Big time.
Okay, so we move from Ostera, which is the spring equinox, which is March 19th to 21st. We move on to Beltane. Now, Beltane is either April 30th or May 1st, and it's also known as May Day for many of us, obviously, and in our modern mainstream society. May Day is another Catholic holiday. And I know since I grew up, going to Catholic school, so I'm very much connected, and that's why I'm bringing that up.
Yeah.
So Beltane. As the sun is growing stronger and warmer, this holiday was celebrated as the official start of summer for our Celtic ancestors. Again, 2,000 years ago. This is ancient stuff. But flowers are blooming, the birds are flying around, bees are buzzing, pollinating the flowers. Things are really starting to pick up. You're seeing all this gorgeousness. And this is a time energetically for passion, for mischief, for sensuality, for sexuality, for beauty, fertility, vitality, and really abundance. So there's just a lot of that in the air at this time of year. And a lot of times spring fever is taking place now, right? Once it's May 1st, it's spring fever is taking over. And everybody is ready to be outside and to celebrate. And the most basic of instincts start to take hold right now, and that is to reproduce.
Well, my mom didn't get the memo on that because I was born in June.
So where it comes to, people, but animals, animals are very much in tune to this.
Yeah.
They very much are in tune to that as well.
For sure.
So, and it's also, Beltane is also known to be the time of the fairies and of the faithful.
Oh, sure.
So the only other day of the year where the fairies are more active than Beltane is Samhain, which is tomorrow. And these Beltane and Samhain are, again, exactly opposite of each other on the wheel of the year. So it's really interesting to see how connected, even the seasons that are directly, on the opposite side of the wheel, how connected they are still to each other. So that's a really great way. That's how we're here for Beltane. I tell people to go out even if you go to a park or if you go out to your backyard and you want to really get in good with your fae folk and your fairies, because they will protect your home. We got the sweetbreads or the shiny little, shiny glass or crystals or things like that for them, and they'll learn to really want to protect your space and help you. So that's something else to think about for that time of year.
That's good to know, and thank you for the heads up for tomorrow.
Yes. Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that too. Okay. So from Beltane, we're moving on to Litha or Litha, Litha, and this is now the summer solstice, and this takes place anywhere from June 20th to June 22nd. So this is known as Midsummer or Midsummer's Eve. And I know most of us have heard about, that phrase, Midsummer's Eve, just from plays or just from Shakespeare, So, and it's funny because when I was talking to my husband about this, I think it was just because my retreat last year the first year was over the summer solstice. And I was like, it's Midsummer's Eve. He goes, it's not midsummer though. But as for us, it's the beginning of the modern history. Sure. It's the beginning of summer. But as I had said, Beltane was really the beginning of summer back in the ancient times. So it's called midsummer right now. So now this is the longest day of the year and the shortest night. So that's very much the opposite of the winter solstice, right?
Yeah. I think we lost your sound. Okay. Oh, are you there?
Sorry.
Oh,
Hello.
good. Woo! Yay.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
That's okay. I'm just glad we still have you.
Yes. Okay, is it good? Are we good?
Yes. It gets a little fuzzy, the picture, every now and again. But I can hear
Better?
you. Yes. Yep.
You can hear me okay now?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry about that, guys. I apologize. Okay. So we're talking about Luca, which is the longest day and the shortest night of the year. And it is the height of the summer where everything is in abundance. The crops are bountiful, and we are getting closer to harvest season. So the energy for Lisa for the summer solstice is very masculine. As we know, this is the Sun King. He is the masculine energy. And right then, the energy is very masculine and is full of magic, abundance, and growth. And this is also the time of the Green Man. I don't know if you've ever heard, if you've known of the Green Man or the Horned God as well. So right now, too, in the summer solstice is really a great time if you deal with herbs at all, whether they be magical herbs or medicinal herbs at all. This is said to be the time where they are at their most potent and they are at their strongest. So it's a great time to gather some of your herbs on summer solstice and to dry them and store them for future use because they are at their most potent at this Sabbath, at this Lisa Sabbath.
Well, good to know. Yeah. And I can see that because they, once you start getting further along in the summer and early autumn, they're not necessarily at their height. I guess,
yes.
They're more on the downswing a little bit.
Exactly. So, so this is a great time if you are one who likes to grow your own herbs. So, which I did this year, and I still have some hanging in my closet that I'm going to finish harvesting. They're just about all dried. Rosemary, sage, lavender, thyme, all those. It's just really great. And you don't have to harvest it all, but you can get some of them going because they're really potent at that point.
Sure.
Okay, now we're moving on to Lammas. This is Lamnnas. And this holiday is either August 1st or August 2nd. And this is the first holiday marking the beginning of the end of summer. Okay? So the days are now starting to grow shorter. You're going to start to notice that one of those subtle changes again. You will start to see the beginnings of plants starting to drop their seeds in anticipation and preparation of the new life for the next growing season. So you'll start to notice those things happening, which is really marking this change of season and this time of year. So this is the beginning also of the first harvest celebration, and because there's 3 harvests, there's 3 harvest celebrations or harvest festivals. This is the first one, and the energy of this right now of Lammas is the energy of gratitude because we are seeing our first harvest. It's a benevolent sacrifice. And utilizing skill and talent, that energy is going to be really helpful for us at this time of year, which again is going to be August 1st or 2nd. And, as I said, this is the first of the 3 harvest celebrations. So it's kind of marking the beginning of the end of summer at this time. And
it's just making me think about the beginning of school. It's not quite there, but it's getting, it's closer. My daughter starts school the end of August, and it's like, it's just, I'm overlaying all of these different things.
And how it connects our everyday life, and you never realize it until you're like, oh, and it really does. The energy behind everything I'm saying, you're probably really connected to the energy that's just always there in your normal life, and you don't realize it until someone tells you,
Yeah.
"Hey, this is where this is coming from," right?
For sure.
Yeah. So we have two more Sabbats. The next one after Lammas is Mabon, which is one of my favorites. I love Mabon. It's so, for me, energetically charged personally. This is the autumn equinox. This takes place anytime from September 21st to September 24th, somewhere in those dates. And this is the second day that is the perfect balance of light and dark. So the first one being Ostera, which is the exact opposite of the wheel of the year, which was the Eastertide. This is now that exact balance of the light and the dark. So compared to the solstices, which occur in the middle of the seasons, the equinox mark a more significant shift from one season to the next for us. So this isn't such a subtle shift. This is something that's going to be a little bit more in our face, as we all know. And it's very always, this shift into autumn is always very prevalent for pretty much everybody, really, in the country, I'd say, at least in the U.S.
I think of it as, when you talk about that this is the time where light and dark are balanced, then what came to me is the tipping point. Because after this, it goes in one, it tips more towards one or the other.
Yeah, exactly. So it is, and that's why it's really amazing when you think about the energy and how balanced everything is. There's so much great work you can do on both of those Sabbats where there is that perfect balance. Either whether it be Ostera or whether it be Mabon, there's a lot of great stuff that you can work with and things that you can do with that energy. And we have twice in 1 year to be able to work with that, which is really cool. And they're both going to hold different things we're going to want to work on, because they are at different times of the year. So even though they both have that balance, the seasonal energy is still going to be different. So, right now the nights are becoming longer where it comes to Mabon. The nights are becoming longer. They're creeping in a little bit more. There's a chill in the air. But there's also the energy of gratitude, abundance, balance, harvest, preparation, and really welcoming the dark, because that is really leading us into our time of rest and leading us into our time of hibernation, which, even though, a lot of people are like, oh, I hate winter, we need it. We have to have that. We have to have that downtime, that time of rest, that time to reevaluate and self-evaluate as we prepare, for the next year ahead. So,
yeah, definitely. Rejuvenate.
Exactly. And, as I said, this is the opposite of the wheel from Ostera, which also has that equal time of day and night. Now, though, is the time we should take the time to appreciate all that we have created, all that we have manifested throughout the year, and really to give thanks for that. And really appreciate yourself for what it is you have created, and to see everything that has come to fruition. And Mabon is the second of the three harvest festivals. So you're seeing that abundance of what you're bringing in, what you've created, and what you've worked so hard for. And again, as some people might find this time kind of bittersweet, this is what the wheel of the year is all about. It's really all about, it's always evolving, it's always moving, it's never stagnant. So you really do have to appreciate that. And it's okay if it's bittersweet, as long as you understand the purpose of what's to come, where it comes to the winter months.
It puts so much more intention and attention towards these changes than what I've at least experienced, here in the States and growing up here in this culture, because it's like, there's summer solstice and there's, autumn equinox, but nobody really does anything specific about it. It's just like, there it is, and so what, right?
It just goes along.
Yeah, Christmas is maybe the only thing I can think of right now that has, and maybe Easter, because you said one of them goes along that, but that's is that an equinox? I don't remember now. That's not the equinox.
That is the spring
Oh, it
equinox.
is.
That's
Okay.
Sarah. Yep.
So,
yep.
I mean, there are things from a Christian overlay that correspond to it, but it takes away from the actual natural changes that are taking place. And to me, this makes things so much more, well, it just raises them all to the surface so I can be more aware of them. And I love the idea of celebrating all of this.
Yes, yes. I mean, because you're going to be more in tune. Like, all it takes is that little bit of awareness, and you're going to be so much more in tune. You're going to want to celebrate it. Yeah. You're going to want to make it, oh my gosh, this could be a celebration, a festival, a ritual in your own right. Yeah. It doesn't have to be something huge. It's just doing any simple little things that mean something to you. Yeah. You know, it's all about your intention and what you want to do and how you want to incorporate this into your life. Yeah. You know, that's really all that matters when it comes down to it, right? When any work that we do like this. So, yeah. So from Avon, we move into Samhain, which is the energy we have been in right now, the energy we've been in through all month. So Samhain, as I said, is spelled Samhain. So it doesn't really look like it's not pronounced how you would think. But again, that's because it's very Celtic, you know. But this is Halloween for us in our modern time and in our mainstream lives. And that is October 31st. November 1st is when it's celebrated. November 1st is All Saints Day, so that's very much incorporated. That's the Christianity taking in, you know, the celebration. They kind of took over the Halloween and then turned it to All Saints Day. It is to what it is now, which is great. I mean, because it is so much fun, and there is that energy, and it really is a time of celebration for so many people. Even though they might not know where it came from, it's still there, and the energy is still there. So this is the most powerful time of the year energetically. Out of all of the wheel of the year, any time of the year, this is the most potent. The veil is thinning, and we are really able to honor our ancestors and our past loved ones right now. So we're going to be very connected to them.
I have to say, okay, so I wanted to hold off on Day of the Dead because that's also a big celebration. What it's today, isn't it? Isn't it the day before? I think it is.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if there was a connection to that because I can totally see it. Oh, we're gonna have to watch Coco, the animated movie. Totally awesome. Thanks for that idea.
Definitely.
And personally, I can say that I have been feeling strong connections to my ancestors, especially ones who have they've recently passed, meaning like in the last decade. But I've been getting names of my grandmothers, especially, a lot. I mean, Ruth and Alice, they're not names you hear a lot. But I do.
Yeah.
Especially right now, everywhere.
Right. So isn't that wild? It's crazy. Like I know the past week or so in my house, I keep seeing shadows, and I keep seeing cats walking around my house.
Oh, and, you know, Fancy Packs, Mr. Fancy Packs.
Yes, exactly. And I'm like, okay, I know, I get it, you're here. So, but it is, this is the time of the year to honor your ancestors, to honor your past loved ones, and there's so many ways you can do that too, and it's just by setting an extra spot at the table for them today or tomorrow, you know, simple things like that, talking about them, talking to them. Yeah. You know, it doesn't have to be anything like you have to have a huge bonfire or sacrifice something. You know, it's not like that. It's just about you connecting with them in whatever way makes you happy and feel that love and let them know that they're loved and missed. You know, that's really what it's really all about. And this is the third and final harvest festival as we are preparing for winter. You know, that's what Samhain is really. This is the end of that harvest. And this energy for Samhain is all about death, rebirth, divination, honoring ancestors, mischief, of course, again, and revelry. So, and when we say that death has the most potent energy where it comes to this, it is only because that is where the potential for new life lies. You know,
Yeah.
so it's not to be morbid or gruesome or anything like that. We all know it's very cyclical. You know, it's always churning and moving forward.
Well, and change in and of itself, you know, it's something new, but you're leaving something
Exactly.
behind, and that, you know, goes away or dies.
Exactly. And so also that now is the time to reflect back on the year, you know, really to see what circumstances or patterns that you would like to release or let die, you know, so you can make room for the new energy when the growing season begins again.
Right. Which
So,
is,
you know, now's the time to let that go.
There's so many things that I've received recently around that, around seeing things that emerge that you can then know whether or not you want to keep it in your life or let it go. You know, what do you want to release? And I love that there's this one and the February one. Those are is that those two correspond? I've forgotten the name. I apologize. My notes are so.
No. That's okay. No, it's
I don't have them memorized yet.
No. It's okay. So I need my notes to keep focused and grounded. February one, that's enrolled. And that is February 1st or 2nd, and that's the groundhog.
Right.
That's the groundhog one. But yes, you know, and with the sowing, you know, again, this is the last time to harvest the last of any of your magical or medicinal herbs that you may be growing, and to have them dried and stored for the coming winter season. So there's a lot. There's a lot coming at us right now, and I'm just really excited that we were able to talk about this today. Seeing as like we're right in the middle of it, honestly.
Yes, me too. That's exactly what I had hoped for. So thank you so much for being available to do this today.
Of course, I'm so excited. I was really excited when you approached me a few weeks ago. I was like, oh my gosh, that would be wonderful. I love it. Yeah. This is my stuff. It's my jam.
Now, so how long have you been learning this? Approximately.
I have to say, I really started digging into it probably about 3 years ago, where I was naturally drawn to be like, what? I want to know more about this. And I started actually reading a lot of Scott Cunningham's books. He is a wonderful witch. He's passed away now, but he has some amazing books back from the 70s, like old books. But he really was very much in tune to Mother Nature, into working with herbs, and into the season, the wheel of the year. So I started reading some of his stuff, and it just escalated to where I am now, and to just really wanting to dive in even more and get more information. Where it comes to not just the seasonal energy, but the moon energy incorporated into that. And it's really something that, like, there's always going to be something to learn, especially when it comes to you doing your own work. Learning about yourself. Like, you can keep learning new things constantly and get new intuitive information that comes through from it all the time too.
For sure. So, is there a calendar or something that you rely upon to keep track of it, or have you created your own, or what? How do you do that?
I haven't. I actually have not. At this point, I'm very much just aware of it, but there is a book. Where do I have? I have a book. It's on my tablet, and it is by Lisa Chamberlain. It's called The Wiccan Wheel of the Year, and it's very informative. And I kind of guess I use that as a calendar because I just always go back to this book and reference it, and it lists so much wonderful information where it comes to the correspondences I was talking to you about, where it comes to gods and goddesses and herbs, flowers, and foods, and the energy. And that's really honestly what I refer to. I don't have a specific calendar, but you can find, there are calendars that you can find. There's a specific image. If you were to type in Wheel of the Year, images. There's specific images, and there are specific calendars that you could have and use and like put, hang on your wall or something.
Yeah.
So that is definitely something that is really, I think it's something that I really should do. It would be really cool, actually.
It just seems to me that, so I use my, electronic calendar for most things. I do a handwritten thing for most of my mashups and these shows. And I really, especially for these shows, but also with regular calendar where there's more school-oriented things with my daughter and stuff like that, I think it would be really helpful to keep those things front and center.
In mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely when you're dealing with your kids and things that they're going through, because you're not going to really expect them to be aware of that stuff yet. They have so much other stuff to worry about.
No kidding.
So.
Especially in junior high.
Yeah. Good luck, honey.
Yes. Enjoying every minute of it.
I'm sure you are.
But she is spiritually open. And so she's open to certain things that I have to talk about as long as I don't say it too long or it doesn't sound like a lecture. And I think that this would really resonate with her as well. She tends towards a natural approach to things without really knowing that yet. And I think it'd be really fun to have that. And plus, she and I, let's just leave my husband out of that part, really like celebrations. And it doesn't have to be like Christmas, but, it'd be fun to celebrate. So I just think it would be a really fun thing to bring her in with.
And that's like and there's, like I said, there's little things you can do. Like for tomorrow, for Halloween, there's like a specific like drink concoction you can make with cider and orange peel and cinnamon, and you put it on the stove, and it makes your house sound awesome. And you can drink it while like watching like a Charlie Brown, Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown show or something. You know what I mean?
Oh,
it's little things like that you can do. They'll call it like a witch's brew, but I mean, it's all...
Sounds kind of like mulled spices to me as well.
Yeah. It's like mulled cider, or, if you want to do an adult version, you can add red wine to it, and then they add like pomegranate juice and cinnamon and any kind of nutmeg or any kind of spices you want.
Yeah.
So it's like, those are the little things that you can do for all of these holidays, and really incorporate the seasonal herbs or flowers or foods into these holidays and these Sabbaths.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm really excited to do that. And so what I want to, first of all, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this was everything I had imagined and more. So really helpful information.
Great. Thank you so much for having me today. This is a lot of fun.
My pleasure, Stephanie. Thank you. And I just wish you and everybody else a mystical, magical day and rest of your week and beyond.
Thank you.
And talk to you again soon. Bye. Hocus Focus was recorded live in the exclusive Mystical Mashup Facebook group on October 30th, 2019. Learn more about Stephanie at stephaniecweinman.com, on Facebook, Spirit and Sage Healing, and on Instagram and YouTube at Stephanie C. Weinman Sash. That's SASH. Learn more about Megan at mysticalmashup.com, on Facebook at Mystical Mashup, and on YouTube by searching for Megan's Mystical Mashup. Thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe and share if you enjoyed the show.